Good day, grade 8 students. We are now on quarter 3, week 7 and 8, food or fish processing. These are the topics that we will discuss in this week. LO1, observe personal hygiene and good grooming. LO2, implement food safety practices. And LO3, conduct work in accordance with environmental policies and procedures. These are the objectives of our lesson. At the end of this lesson, you will be able to observe personal hygiene and good grooming, implement food safety practices, and work in accordance with environmental policies and procedures. First, let us discuss the learning outcome number 1, the personal hygiene and good grooming. Can you tell something about this picture? It illustrates the healthy child and unhealthy child, or a sick child. So why do children get sick, or why do people get sick? People get sick due to improper hygiene and poor grooming. They tend to forget the importance of taking care of their health. This is the main reason why proper hygiene and good grooming should be taught to prevent any kind of diseases and illnesses. Personal hygiene is how we care for our body. This practice includes bathing, washing our hands, brushing our teeth, and more. Good grooming means practicing good hygiene techniques. It includes showering and having neat hair and clean, trimmed fingernails, having brushed teeth and clean clothes. And why personal hygiene and good grooming is important in food processing. Okay, what would be your reaction if someone serves your food looks like in this picture? Or what if someone sneezes in front of your food while serving your food? Maybe you will lose your appetite. So why personal hygiene and good grooming is important in food processing? Good personal hygiene and grooming can prevent food poisoning. Because even healthy people carry food poisoning bacteria with them. One can spread the bacteria from oneself to the food when they touch their nose, mouth, hair, clothes, and then the food. And customers like to see food handling staff who take health seriously and practice safe food handling and self-grooming. GMP, or Good Manufacturing Practices, is a system for ensuring the products are consistently produced and controlled to quality standards. And these are the requirements on personal hygiene in the food industry. First is health status. People known or suspected to be suffering from or to be a carrier of a disease should not be allowed to enter any food handling area. It is unlikely that they could contaminate food. Any persons so affected should immediately report illness or symptoms of illness to the management. Medical examination of a food handler should be carried out if clinically or epidemiologically indicated. Second one is illnesses and injuries. The following conditions should be reported to the management so that any afflicted persons need to subject themselves to personal examination and be excluded from handling food. So these are the illnesses and injuries. First one is the diseases of the respiratory tract, such as common cold, sore throat, pneumonia, scarlet fever, tuberculosis, and trench mouth. Respiratory tract infections spread microorganisms such as staphylococci, which are indigenous to prevent two portions of the respiratory tract. The second one is intestinal disorders such as dysentery, typhoid fever, and infectious hepatitis. People suffering from intestinal disorders usually shed a lot of intestinal bacteria such as Shigella, Salmonella, and others, which may be transmitted to food by dirty hands. A person suffering from salmonellosis, for example, may shed as many as 10 cells per gram of feces during illness. The next one is skin disorders such as sores, abrasions, and lesions, infected ears, boil, scabies, and severe rashes. The usual sites for harboring staphylococci are cuts, burns, abrasions, and pustular lesions. When infected persons handle food, the hazard of passing staphylococci from skin surfaces to food increases. Pre-employment physical examination is usually required for every person intending to work in a food plant in order to establish freedom from above diseases. Next is personal cleanliness. Food handlers should maintain a high degree of personal cleanliness. They should wear suitable protective clothing, head covering, gloves, facial masks, and footwear. Suitable waterproof dressing should cover cuts and wounds, wherein personnel are permitted to continue working. These are the processor's outfit as part of personal hygiene. These are apron, hand towels, hairnet, gloves, face mask, and working shoes. Hand washing. Personnel should always wash their hands when personal cleanliness may affect food safety, as shown in the following practices. So you will wash your hands at the start of food handling activities. Wash your hands immediately after using the toilet. Wash your hands after handling raw food or any contaminated material, where this could result in the contamination of other food items. They should avoid handling ready-to-eat food when unsure of cleanliness in the process of preparing it. These are the hand washing techniques. First, use water as hot as the hands can comfortably stand. Second, moisten hands, soaks thoroughly and lather to elbow. Then scrub thoroughly using brush or nails for 20 seconds. Rub hands together using friction for 20 seconds. Rinse thoroughly under running water. Be careful not to touch anything that contaminates the hands before returning to work. Then dry hands using single-service towels, tissue paper, or hot air dryer. Then, if necessary, use disinfectant to sanitize thoroughly, such as 70% ethanol. Personal behavior or habits. People engaged in food handling activities should refrain from behavior that could result in food contamination, such as the following. First, smoking, spitting, chewing or eating, sneezing or coughing over unprotected food. Personal effects such as jewelry, pins, or other items should not be worn or brought into food handling areas if they pose a threat to the safety and suitability of food. Visitors in food manufacturing, processing, or handling areas should wear appropriate, wear protective clothing, and adhere to the other personal hygiene provisions. Entrance and exit in a workplace. All entrances and exits must be provided with screen doors swinging outward. Signs of entrance and exit must be posted in corresponding areas. Some organizations require thorough washing of hand and foot bath before entry into a work area. Wear appropriate work outfit before entering. Deposit them at designated areas upon exit from the place. Let us go now to the learning outcome number 2. Food safety practices. What is food safety? Food safety is the assurance that food will not cause harm to the consumer when it is prepared or eaten according to its intended use. Food safety is everyone's responsibility. Everyone has the right to safe, nutritious, and sufficient food. Still today, almost 1 in 10 people in the world fall ill, and 420,000 die after eating contaminated food. When food is not safe, children cannot learn, adults cannot work, human development cannot take place. Food can become contaminated at any point from production to consumption, while the primary food safety responsibility lies with food producers. Many food-borne diseases are caused by improperly prepared or mishandled food at home, in food service establishments, markets, or even in the farms. Aside from proper hygiene and good grooming that we have discussed a while ago, sanitation is a primary concern of all food processing firms. It is necessary to prevent or minimize hazards of product contamination and conditions aesthetically offensive to the consumers, and to provide clean, healthful, and safe working conditions. Sanitation Standard Operating Procedures or SSOP are components of good manufacturing practices, emphasizing sanitation procedures on the topics to be discussed. Workplace sanitation regulation in implementing sanitary food handling practices in the following aspects. In handling raw materials and supplies. Check the source of supplies, fish, salt, or packaging materials. Then check on the quality. It is the condition of fish, which is the freshness and temperature, presence of foreign materials, color and purity of salt, purity of other additives. In monitoring during production, these are the things that you would consider. The preparation of fish must be monitored regularly to ensure complete removal of entrails and gills from eviscerated fish and by thorough washing for whole fish. The correct brine concentration, amount of other ingredients, and the time of soaking must be strictly observed to ensure uniformity of every batch. The proper drying or cooking endpoint must be observed to ensure uniformity of product quality. In packaging for retail packs, proper packing of products in polyethylene or polypropylene bags must be checked. For bulk packs, check if products properly stacked in carton boxes or wooden boxes that are lined with high-density polyethylene plastic film. In labeling, check if it carries appropriate labeling in accordance with the rules and regulations on labeling of pre-packaged foods. The following information shall be declared in every container, whether in bulk or in retail package. For locally produced products, these are the details that must be indicated in the label. The name of the product and product identification or generic name printed in bold capital letters. Next, name and address of the manufacturer. Net weight of the products in metric units. Ingredients, itemized in decreasing order. Chemical additives, example preservatives. Open date marking, example best before or consumed before date. Lot identification code. Repackers must use manufacturer's lot ID code. And storage instruction. Example, store in a cool, dry place. For locally manufactured or repacked and imported repacked products, the details that should be included in the label is same as in number 1 and 3 to 8. Then name and address of manufacturer or repacker or importer, and then the country of origin. So let us go in storing and transporting after labeling or packaging. So storing and transporting. So these are the things that you would consider. Check if properly identified and if new production batches are segregated from previous batches. Check if during storage and transport, product is not exposed to any of the following: direct sunlight or near source of strong sunlight, high temperature and humidity, contamination with moisture, contamination with dust or filth from the environment. In record keeping or reporting, check production record, daily control chart, weekly summaries of activities, and corrective actions maintained for a period of at least 12 months from the date of manufacture. Manufacturers shall provide traders with a certificate of quality of the specified batch or lot sold to the repackers or traders. Check quality control record and check marketing and distribution record. So these are the safety measures to be observed in implementing sanitary food handling activities. Production and process control safety. All operations involving receiving, inspecting, preparing, processing, packaging, and storing of food must be conducted under such conditions that they do not contribute contamination in the form of filth, harmful chemicals, undesirable microorganisms, or any other objectionable material to the finished product. A strict quality control of raw materials should be enforced. Low-grade raw materials or those that fail to meet specification should be rejected because this would only result in an inferior finished product. Containers and carrier of raw materials, packaging materials, storage and transportation of finished products should be thoroughly inspected and monitored. Workers' hygiene and safety. Good working conditions ensure not only the safety of workers, but also safety of food products that reach the consumers. Food processing plant personnel must be adequately trained on the proper hygiene and accident prevention that must be observed or practiced in the plant to assure continuous flow of work. This minimizes the chance of contamination and accidents that cause unwanted delays. Workers infected with contagious diseases should not be allowed to work as they can be sources of contamination. They should be quarantined until cured and safe from spreading the diseases. Food handlers with open and infected wounds or sores in the hands or arms should not be allowed to handle food products directly, for they can contaminate the food they touch. They should always be made aware of the dangers of haphazard or careless practices. Strict compliance to sanitary measures should be observed. Safety measures to be observed by food handlers. The hands should be washed thoroughly with soap and water. A disinfecting solution of chlorinated water should be available for rinsing the hands before handling food. Wearing rings, bracelets, and wristwatches during processing should be avoided, as these can be sources of contamination. Second, smoking in the preparation, processing, and packing area should never be allowed. Smoke can be absorbed in the food, or the ashes and cigarette butts may get into the food. Spitting and blowing of nose should never be done within the premises of the plant. These unhealthy habits contribute to contamination and spread of diseases. Food handlers should be properly dressed. The use of gowns, aprons, head caps or hairnets, masks, rubber, gloves, and boots is ideal. This prevents contamination of the food by foreign matters from the handler's body, like hair, dust, and germs exhaled from nose and mouth. However, for small-scale industries, clean and light-colored shirts and caps or hairnets would be sufficient. Whenever possible, food must not be handled by bare hands during preparation and packing. Packaging materials must never be handled directly, particularly on the side that shall be in direct contact with the food. Equipment and facility safety. Processing facilities should be well ventilated, adequately lighted, and properly maintained. Thorough washing and subsequent disinfecting of processing equipment before and after use should be a standard operating procedure or SOP. A good processing plant should have an effective pest control to keep it free from rodents and insect pests. Cleanliness of processing equipment, utensils, and surroundings prevents both infestation and contamination. Potable water supply should be available from adequate sources. Good drainage and sewage disposal system should also be provided. These are essential for the efficient maintenance of sanitation. Waste disposal should be properly managed to prevent pollution of surroundings. We are now on learning outcome number 3, environmental policies and procedures. The maintenance of cleanliness in a working area requires frequent or continuous cleaning as well as clean up at the end of each day. The purpose of this is to keep waste from accumulating during the operating day. It involves careful organization, training work, scheduling, and the best available equipment, method, and materials. HACCP HACCP, or the Hazard Analysis Critical Control Point, allows processors or regulator to look at what happens during the process to ensure safety. The major concepts of HACCP are follows. A preventive system of control, particularly on biological hazards. Next, a system approach for estimating the risk in producing a food product. Universally recognized system as the most effective way to prevent foodborne illness. Science-based systematic identified specific hazards and measures for their control to ensure food safety. Capable of accommodating changes such as advances in equipment design, processing procedures, or technological developments that can be applied throughout the food chain from the primary producer to the final consumer. Applicable to establishments that produce, process, treat, pack, trade, transport, serve, or involve in food production. These are the 7 HACCP principles. First, hazard analysis. Identify critical control points. Establish control limits. Monitor critical limits. Establish corrective actions in case of deviation from established critical limits. Establish verification procedure to ensure that the system is consistent. Establish record-keeping procedures. So what are the HACCP prerequisite programs? First is Good Manufacturing Practices, or GMP. This provides the sanitary infrastructure for food safety, with the plant, grounds, and building facilities emphasize pest control. Equipment design provides ease in cleaning and maintenance. Personal hygiene and facilities are set. Process controls are followed. Storage and warehousing are free from contamination. Next is Sanitation Standard Operating Procedures, or SSOP. SSOP are components of GMP that emphasize sanitation procedures. They include safety of water that gets in contact with food and food surfaces, condition and cleanliness of food contact surfaces, measures to prevent contamination, and employee hygiene practices. Control of employee health conditions that could result in contamination of food and food surfaces. Protection of food and food contact surfaces from adulteration with toxic and other harmful components. Proper labeling and storage and use of toxic, and control of pests. The third one is the Good Housekeeping System. Waste minimization, such as reduce, reuse, recycle. Energy conservation and productivity improvement schemes. Food processing plant facilities and environment. First, building. Walls. There should be no double walls that could harbor rodents and insects. Screens. The openings such as windows and doors should be properly screened to prevent insects and birds from entering the laboratory rooms. Ceilings, walls, and floors. These should be smooth and washable with a minimum of ledges, beams, and areas where dust and debris could accumulate. Floors should be in good repair, well-drained, and easily cleaned. Ventilation. There must be enough ventilation to prevent condensation. Condensate forming on overhead pipes and beams may drip into products that containers and deteriorate structures. Paint. It should stand up under the conditions of use expected because flaking and peeling of paint on walls and sealing above food handling areas is a source of contamination. Next is plant lighting. Light should be even and without glare, strong reflections or deep shadows, and of proper color rendition. Light bulbs and tube should be of the same type, safe type to prevent contamination by broken glass and to protect workers. Water supply. Private wells and surface supplies must be protected against surface and underground contamination. There must be regular bacteriological and periodic chemical examinations made. Well casing must be sealed. Cross-examination of potable and not potable water distribution should be examined. Drainage. Gutters should be accessible for cleaning. Water flow should be adequate to remove wastes and round bottoms are easier to clean. Floors should be smooth and sloped between 1/8 to 3/8 inch per foot to prevent standing waste and water. Water should not run across floors where employees walk. Disposal of solid wastes. Solid wastes must be removed from the premises of frequent intervals to prevent safety hazards, to avoid odors of fermentation and decay, and to prevent insect attraction. Water containers must be properly cleaned, and containers that absorb juices should not be used. Final disposal must be an area or manner to prevent nuisance and insect breeding. Drinking fountain. There must be one drinking fountain for every 50 employees. The water temperature must range from 45 degrees to 50 degrees Fahrenheit is desirable. It should be conveniently located but not within toilet rooms or overhand washing sinks. Toilets. Water flush toilet is preferable and should be set free from all enclosing wood. The number of toilets depends on the number of employees. Washing facilities. It should be placed near the toilets and in the washing area. Soap, individual towels, or paper napkins suitable for drying devices should be available. Employee sanitation. Employees' personal hygiene, such as proper clothing, head covering, gloves, and boots, should be checked properly. Wearing jewelry and keeping objects in dress pockets should be avoided. Spitting of employees on the floors and walls as well as smoking are strictly prohibited. Clean-up procedures. The general information regarding plant clean-up for proper evaluation is as follows. How much time has elapsed since last clean-up? Is a separate clean-up group used? Do workers do clean-up? Is there a clean-up supervisor? Are there clean-up specifications such as methods, materials, equipment, and time? What clean-up equipment, detergents, and sanitizing agents are used? When, where, and how our clean-up procedures are implemented? Waste management. It is defined as handling of all wastes in the plant, including food wastes, scratch paper, and fallen dry leaves on the ground, trim wedges, and many others into useful products. It is the utilization of waste by recycling and reusing this waste into other valuable products good for the health of the people to arrive at zero waste. The legal basis of waste management. Republic Act No. 9003, known as the National Solid Waste Management Act, is issued as part of War on Waste or WOW. to fight against waste provides that all waste matter will be recycled and reused into useful items. For liquid waste control, number 1, screening. It is employed as a preliminary treatment for removal of large particles of solid prior to final treatment to be discharged into a municipal sewage system. Lagoning, biological disposal. It consists of holding the wastes effluent in open earthen pits which accomplish treatment under 5 principles, namely biological action, sedimentation, soil absorption, evaporation, and dilution. BFAR regulations on fishery processed products. Fish inspection and quality control section. So these are the regulations and requirements. BFAR guidelines on plant accreditation or approval. The accreditation process commences with application through submission of LTO, GMP, SSOP, and HACCP plans specific to the product, processing activity, and plant location. Accreditation is based on verified compliance with the submitted programs and established rules and regulations on product safety and quality. BFAR conducts both announced and unannounced inspections. BFAR provides a certificate of accreditation and a certificate of HACCP implementation to plants that have satisfactorily met the requirements. Validity of accreditation varies from 6 months. Plant rating of AB or BA to 1 year. Plant rating of AA. BFAR notifies plants of any non-compliance deficiencies after each inspection. Accreditation is given only to plants obtaining a plant rating of AB, BA, or AA on I, plant structure and equipment requirements, and 2, GMP or SSOP and HACCP implementation. BFAR shall withdraw the accreditation for plants with critical deficiencies. The listed plants may apply for reaccreditation after corrective actions have been effectively instituted on deficiencies that have caused the withdrawal of accreditation. Okay, congratulations! You have finished the lesson in Module 7 and 8. Okay, so this is your project for 3rd quarter because this week is the last week for the 3rd quarter. So, instruction, record a video in making daing na bangus. Then, submit in the Google Classroom. So, these are the ingredients and instruction on how to make a daing na bangus. So, I will post this slide in our Facebook group so that you will be able to follow the instructions with the proper ingredients. Okay? Okay, so these are the rubrics or the criteria that will serve as my guide in giving you a grade for your video presentation of daing na bangus. So, for cooking demonstration, which is 30%, ayan, 30% if the student has all the ingredients for the dish, containers to demonstrate, and utensils necessary for the demonstration. The recipe and correct measurements are clearly communicated in the video. The step-by-step procedure in preparing the dish has been followed without much trouble. So good or 25% will be given if some of the ingredients for the dish, containers to demonstrate, and utensils are present for the demonstration. The recipe is somewhat clearly communicated with only a few measurements missing. The step-by-step procedure in preparing the dish has been followed with only a small amount of trouble. Fair or 15%, wherein the several of the ingredients for the dish, containers to demonstrate, and the utensils are not present for the demonstration. The recipe is not clearly communicated. The step-by-step procedure in preparing the dish has not been followed. Poor or 5%, if ingredients are not present and recipe is a disaster. Okay, recipe terms and cooking techniques. So while preparing the dish, so you have to cite some recipe terms, and some cooking techniques must be showed in the video. Excellent, I will give you 20% if incorporated 3 or more cooking terms and techniques in the demo. Good or 15% if incorporated 2 or more cooking terms and techniques in the demo. Fair or 10% if incorporated 1 cooking term and technique in the demonstration. And poor or 5% if the recipe terms and techniques were not included in the demo. Okay. Next, safety and sanitation, which is 20%. Excellent if all surfaces and cooking supplies are clean prior to and after the demonstration. So you have to show the surfaces and cooking supplies that are clean prior and after the demonstration. Good, which is 15%, if surfaces and cooking supplies were partially cleaned prior to and after the demonstration. Fair or 10% if all surfaces and cooking supplies were not properly cleaned prior to and after the demonstration. Then poor, 5%, if you did not incorporate any safety or sanitation guidelines. And the last one is the final product appearance, which is 30%. Excellent if the final product is shown at the close of the demo that has a good eye appeal to the viewer. Good, 25% if the final product is not clearly shown at the close of the demo and has an average eye appeal to the viewer. Fair, 15% if the final product has an unacceptable appearance or is not shown at all in the demo. And poor or 5% if no sample provided. The deadline of submission of our video presentation in making a daing na bangus is on June 3, 2021. That is Wednesday. Okay, so this is our quote for the day. Finished last will always be better than did not finish, which always trumps did not start. Okay, thank you, grade 8 students, for watching our video lesson for this week. Okay, see you next week. So next week is the first week of our 4th quarter.